Hi everyone. One job accomplished. I've now got the bucket seats mounted inside the Studebaker. I'll give you a quick look. Can actually remove this now. Had to do a couple of little modifications this morning. Realised that the corner of my body here, which you can see from the marks on the ground there, that's where this corner was sitting. And I had to take a few measurements, work out a few things, and realise that this poor old girl needed to go in a little bit. So unfortunately I had to cut, I hope this isn't too dark, I had to cut a weld here, which was only a tack anyway, and to cut the two tacks here and the two tacks here. I had to shorten this up slightly by I think 10 mil, to shorten this one up by 5 mil because it tapers. And I've now got that sitting where I need it to be. I've got to pull that clamp in. I've been sort of bumping it as I've been working on the seats. But all both seats are all bolted in now. They all have 4 fixing points. Nothing's fully finished yet. But I've got it to the point where I can sit in the seats, I can adjust the seats move back freely, back and forth freely, so but they sit at the same level, which is really good. And the console goes in beautiful between the two seats. I'm going to see if I can get you some light in here so you can see a bit better. So I'm just going to put this down for a second. Okay, just bear with me. Just try and hang this inside the cab somewhere so that you can get a bit of an idea of what I'm trying to do. I think that'll be okay if it doesn't fall on my head. So just straighten this up so you get a good idea. So for anyone watching this in Australia or New Zealand or wherever you're watching it from, I'm going to be sitting in the left hand side of the car, which is the passenger side here. Driver's side if you live in America and some parts of Europe. So okay, so I'm climbing in the left hand side, so it's pretty comfortable. There's the console. It's a beautiful fit between the seats. That's just sitting there on a block of wood at the moment, so obviously nothing's screwed in. But it's looking good. It's looking really good. I'm happy with it. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, as I say, but you know, I like this. This is going to look neat. It's going to match the seats, and then the door trims will match the seats, so it'll look like a 90s, late 90s model car inside, but with the you know, the 36 look on the outside. As I've mentioned before in some of the clips, you know, this provision here is for the AC and heater controls, which I've got. This is obviously for the CD player. This is just a provision for whatever you want to put in there, your wallet, your phone. It's got pull-out cup holders there. It's got 2 cup holders, and it's got an ashtray here with a cigarette lighter in it. But I'm going to buy one of them little square USB ports and I'm going to modify the inside of this. I can't actually open it properly at the moment because one of the springs on this side has come off, so I've got to sort of pop the whole thing out to show you. I might be able to do it. Just bear with me. Just bear with me for a second. Hopefully that balance is there. See if I can pull it out. It comes out as a whole unit. Pop that up. Here we go. Okay, so that's the ashtray, but which side is it? It's this side here. The springs come off it. You can see there. It's an ashtray that I don't really need. So I can do one of two things. I can either keep this and have it as an insert. As you can see, there's a cigarette lighter there, which I won't need if I buy one of them ports. So I could take that out, and what I could do, this tripod to sit there again, what I could do is I could just take this lid off. Whoops, there's all my clips now. I could take this lid off and simply just fit the USB port into here. I prefer not to, because I'd like to keep that nice and clean and flowing and all that sort of stuff. So you know, if I can fix this lid up, fix that spring up, I will, and I'll try and keep it the way it was meant to be put into the car. These ashtrays would be very hard to come by now, so looking for a new one's going to be near impossible. I'd only get lucky if I found one in a wrecking yard, but you know, 99 best lever. There's not many of them coming into the wrecking yards these days. Yeah, got a clip under here that I dropped. I'll make sure I don't lose any of these things. Put them in that ashtray for a reason. That's because they're all to do with either this console or like the way it fastens to the steel framework and holds it in place, or it's the little clips that hold the air conditioning in, which sort of runs off this bar. Like all the cables get attached to this bar as it comes off the face of the controls. So all those clips have a use. And there's probably one more under there, but I'm not sure at this stage. But yeah, I'm happy now. I've got this to a point where, as I said, all the seats are sitting in there. I can't go welding in no cross bracing yet for the T-bar shifter, because although I think that opening in the console is going to sit in the right spot, well, I can't be 100% sure. I've got to sit the cab back on the chassis to work out the minor things like the T-bar and the brake pedal and all that. Well, basically it's only those two things I need to work out. So I can do that when it's sitting on the truck. There's no issue there. So the next thing I'm going to tackle is I'm going to tackle the door frame on the driver's side, the right hand side. But I haven't completed the left, so these three pieces are welded together, but this is not welded to the B pillar yet, and I don't want to weld that to the B pillar yet. Not at this stage. I just want to keep this all free at the moment. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to build up the other side, and I'll weld the A pillar, the windscreen post, and across the top of the door together, and I'll leave that that B pillar loose. And because once this is welded in, it's welded in. I've still got to put those nice thick 6mm plates in there yet, so I've got to drill them and tap holes in them, and then I've got to weld them in. So that's got to be done on here. So at this point in time, there's no good welding you know, welding any of this into the cowl section. And that's got to come out and be finished off. What else? What else could I tell you? Not much. Yeah. So the plan is to get that door opening done on that side. Once that's done, then I'm going to finish these off. I will put the plates in on both sides so that I've got something to hang the doors to. And once these are done, then I will weld in these B-pillars. It's sort of really awkward. Some of that's going to have to be welded inside the truck. Oh, most of it's going to have to be welded from inside the truck, because you just can't. I haven't tried yet, but I think I'm going to have trouble trying to slide the whole lot in one piece. I can get the 3 pieces in, no problem. This just looks like it might be a problem with this subfloor here. So the only other way that I could do it is to untack the subfloor from the front and from the back. Weld all this in, this into the cowl, because I know that sits right where it is, and that's not that. There's nowhere else of that to go. That's where it sits. And then, you know, weld that all up, slide it in, and then just put the subfloor back in. Just put it in sideways and then twist it and lay it down and then take it back in. That might be the go. I don't know. So there's 2 ways I can do it. I can try and weld it up from the inside, or I can take the subfloor out, weld it all out of the truck, slide it back in, put the subfloor back in, and then just weld everything together. So yeah, a couple of bits and pieces, or a couple of things to consider. The back wall at this stage, I'm not worried about that. It's pretty solid, it's rigid. There's a lot of metal bracing in the back there. That's just a matter of filling, you know, taking some wood out and replacing it. I'm not actually building a frame of any type there. Be a little bit of messing around with the back window, but it's real simple. There's no curves, there's no bends, nothing. It's just going to be, although the window's shaped the way it is, it's going to just be a straight piece of glass that'll go up as a straight piece of glass. So yeah, it's going to be made easy. So that's all I can tell you at the moment. I've got the wheel. Actually, I've got the wheels on. Look at me. 13 minutes I've been talking about shit. There's some stuff that I spoke about in some previous videos. That's the B pillar for this side, so that's already done. That was done by accident because I cut the angles wrong, welded them up, and then realised I'd cut them for the right hand side. So that's already done. I don't have to worry with building one of them. And this is the windscreen post. I've just got to trim this, weld that in across there and trim that up. And the only things I'm left to make for this side are the A pillar and the section across the top. So I'm already half done on that. So garage is looking like a used tyre factory at the moment. I've got wheels and tyres and everything everywhere. Got these 4 tyres up for sale. They're the ones that were on those new rims that I bought. I managed to score some tyres. Had a very generous guy who's a fellow hot rodder give me a set of Pirellis 285 50 18s for nothing. That don't happen every day. Those things are going to be worth like $300 a tyre. He gave me the 2 of them for nothing. They were actually given to him by another hot rodder. I believe owned a radiator place called D&D Radiators. I don't know the man, but these have sort of been like a hand-me-down tyre just to get fellow hot rodders going. So This is the back wheels. This is the Scorpion Zeros, 285 50/18s, and basically brand new. The tread's real deep on them. There's no wear on them whatsoever. Still sort of see the little some of the little nipples on the tyre, so it's good. It's pulled it in closer to the chassis. Looks really nice. Looks like it belongs now. And the front, I managed to pick up a set of 4 tyres. I only needed the 2, so I've got 2 spares, or I can sell 2. These are a set of Dunlop SP Sport Max GTs. These were made in Germany. They're a 245 50/18. I went 10mm wider on these. The tyres that were on these rims all round were 235s, but the problem is, being a 9-inch rim, the 235s sat behind the rim. That's obviously the new trend on a lot of these, I don't know what you call them, but Japanese cars. These guys want the rim sticking out further than the tyres, and that's what causes gutter rash on the outer lip there. So I wanted to put a tyre on there that wasn't gonna, you know, if I was going to scrape the gutter for whatever reason, it's going to hit the tyre first and not the rim. The rims have got a couple of marks on them, but I will, in time, I'll have all them redone. They'll look good, but it's going to be hard for you to see the actual stance of the car at the moment because I've got my SUV here, but I reckon that's looking pretty good. They're actually a run flat tyre, what they call a run flat. Never heard of them before, but then I've never owned a BMW. These came off a BMW. The guy said he drove on them for 2 summer seasons and changed the tyres over in winter. So they got plenty of tread on them. No issues there. Okay, I got that A-pillar cut out. I haven't done much more, but then just cut that out. So still got to mark it out for the hinges and weld this in and trim it back. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a go at this and start pulling all this wood out, because I can't go any further. I can't even slot that in behind here because I've still got timber here. So I'm going to start just taking the nails out and working my way along, and I'll show you where we get to. Cheers. I thought I'd just film this because it's a pretty cool effect. Just cutting through a couple of bolts there in that windscreen post, and the light coming through. We've got this this pretty funky pattern in the air from all the smoke from the wood. So I thought I'd just film that. It's pretty cool. Okay, I've got a bit more out. Amazing too. This is one of the screws I pulled out. The shaft's as clean as probably the day it went in 1936. Head's a little rusty, but it's perfect. This side's been a lot easier. I sort of went with the same... Oh, sorry for the camera work there. I sort of went with the same approach that I did on the other side, where I cut that top bracket. So I cut it here and then I cut it through here, and that just allowed me to just pull the whole lot out once I'd pried all the nails out of here, and obviously out of here. I've just done these ones, so I've done all the nails down the side here, but I do have 2 bolts. I've got one at the top here and I've got one at the bottom here, and the only way to get them out is I have to run the grinder through the timber here and just take the heads off them to be able to pull them out, to pull that whole section out. It's a real pain in the butt, but that's the only thing now holding that in. I'll have to remove the seat to finish this off, but that's one side out. Straight away I can go and put that B pillar in and I just set the A-pillar in there, but obviously I couldn't get it right back because of the bolts here, so I have to notch out the two little recesses in the back of that A-pillar, as I did on the other side. So yeah, this has happened really quick. This has taken me probably 10-15 minutes. I haven't had to go too hard at it either. This gives you a bit of an idea of how they used to like put all these things together. They've lapped the skin over here from the roof onto the windscreen sheet metal. They put a nail through it, and you don't see that from the outside because it's all lead filled. If I was to tap that, that'd push straight through the lead. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how they put them together. So yeah, it's real hard to sort of know what you're doing, because you have no idea how they put this together in the first place. But yeah, hopefully it'll all work out for me, and or better, because I've invested a lot of time so far. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to keep going, and we'll see how far we get. Cheers. Okay, that's a bit of a look at the A-pillar post. That's the windscreen post, but I haven't done any prep on the back of that. I haven't welded in all the sections. I've just got it sitting there, just so it's like sort of like the other side. But yeah, it's got to have some taken out of the back here because it's interfering with the body. But yeah, we're well on our way now. The only piece that I have to mark out and cut out is this one over the top of the door, and then I can start boxing it all in and marking it out for hinges, and yeah, all good. That'll give you a pretty good idea of what the angle of this is. You can see how it, here we got 50 mil, and here we still keep the 70 mil across the face where the hinges mount, and then I box that in across there. But yeah, it's pretty dramatic. I think I've got to lop a little bit off the top here for some reason. I've left it a little longer. I'm going to double check my measurement on the other side, make sure that it's not just the cowl that's sitting out of level. Make sure these posts are the same, because the cowl will get welded to these, and if these are the same length, then the cowl's got to be sitting right. Hi everyone, doing a little bit of work on the truck again today. Just getting a bit of an idea of how the windscreen wipers and things are going to get set up. Probably jumped the gun a little bit here. I really couldn't be bothered with getting stuck into any welding today. It's absolutely bitterly cold here at the moment, so I didn't want to spend too much time out here, so I thought this is a nice quick little job and I'll have a little bit of a play with it. So anyway, the type of setup I've got is a cable driven one. It's come off a Triumph or a Rover, mid-70s model, and it's pretty much the same setup as what you can buy in the way of an aftermarket wiper assembly kit for a hot rod or a custom. So it runs on the cable, and that's the main mechanism. I've got that sitting a little bit high at the moment. I'm just sort of working out the right position for these based on the length of the arms and the wiper blades and everything. These obviously my mock-up wipers here, so based on where they are, that covers 70% of the screen, which is what's required. What I've had to do, I'll bring it around here and show you what I'm doing. Okay, these wiper arms are way too long, so what needs to happen is past this main body of the wiper, you can see a little black mark there, that's 30mm past there. This needs to be bent at possibly a 45 degree angle And then these things here, which I've pushed in here at the moment, I don't know if I can get them out with one hand. It'd be a bit hard holding the camera. Might be lucky. Just set this tripod up, see if we can get something happening here. Just bear with me. I do apologise. We're all used to my professional camera work by now. So anyway, what's going to happen is this will hang from the roof on an angle. The blade will run square or run horizontal to the screen like that. So these pins, when this 30mm section is bent to the angle I need, that's pretty much where it'll sit. That pin will, oops, if you can see, geez, I might have set the camera really badly there. So, sorry guys. So the pin, the arm will come down on the angle, and that pin will end up sitting straight, and that'll hold the blade in place. So I've had to grind these off the ends of the blades, or the blade arms. We'll shorten them up, but I want to speak to me mate Mike. These are stainless steel. I want to find the best way to bend stainless steel without kinking it. One of the other jobs I had to do is I had to shorten these, because otherwise these would have been too long. These are the same size as those cardboard cutouts, so I know when they come down they're going to work perfect. So they'll swing down like that. I had to shorten them up, and I had to take that much, whoops, sorry about the camera again, you know what I'm like. I had to take that much off them, off each end, and then once I cut those off, then I had to try and get these little end caps out of there. These were like almost welded in or something. They're not soldered in, they were like somehow spot welded, factory spot weld. So these will end up going back on the ends. If I can get this in for you. This is going to be a real horrid video, I know it is. So just going to try and pin this between the microwave and my chest. If I demonstrate this for you. So that's basically what's going to happen. They're going to go in there, and because it's stainless steel, I'm going to get Mike to TIG those for me, because I don't have a TIG. And from the outside it's going to look completely the way Trico originally made them. There'll be no evidence that there was anything altered on them. Even with this here was a very different shape, but I've tried to do the best I could and recreate the one on the other side. Jeez, they go in tight, which is great. I know I'm never going to lose the bloody things. Let me just get this out if I can. Nah, it's not going to come out. So not by hand anyway. So what I did is I ground it down. I ground it down as much as I could. It is a different shape. This one's very flat in profile, and this one's a lot thicker. But I've made them match. I've made them match as close as I could get them. Could only take that back one down so far because there is this hole in the end. If I got too far, then I would have blown through that hole and it would have been no good. But that's going to be something that no one's really going to pick up on once we've done it all properly. This actually had another, I think this one here, it had another loop up the top here or somewhere, and it used to run like another arm off it, but that was for when this was on the Triumph or that Rover, and it would have come up through the cowling of the car. But I'm running it from the roof down, so I didn't need that arm. so I could cut that off and got rid of it. So I've had to make a little mark on here too, that the pin, when it mounts back onto the arm, it mounts on the outside of the blade. And I've left those rivets in this one, just so that it helps me remember where they got to go. But all good. So that's been a little thing I've been playing with today. Again, I apologise for my camera work. I don't think I'm going to get any better at it, so don't expect miracles. Yeah, so I'm pretty much done with this wiper job for today. So yeah, hopefully it warms up here a little bit and inspires me to do a little bit more welding. Because yesterday I got the get this out without slicing my fingers. You look at this. So this was the template for my sheet metal insert for this windscreen, and it's still going to happen. It has to happen because I cut the bloody thing out. So, but I got the A-pillar done yesterday, so that's all done, and it's been notched out for the hinges, if you can see that, and it's not too dark, so it's been done. If you remember in previous videos, there's a couple of little recesses down here along the dash panel that I had to cut out to allow the dash bolts to pass through. Well, the bottom one needs probably about another 2 millimeters taking out of it. It's just hitting. It does look like it's hard up against the cowling, but you know, I want to make sure. So I'm going to take just a little bit out of it, and see how we go. I just set the door on there too with a clamp. Poor old door, it's buckled as hell because all the timber's broken down the C-pillar section. So that door's basically just, it's flexing in the middle like that. But you know, with my my door jambs in that I've made, and you know, A and B pillars and windscreen posts, the door's going to sit in there pretty well, you know. Like the poor old thing, the timber's snapped right here on the frame. That's why that's sunk in there and it's sticking out at the bottom. But you know, I think by the time I've got all this sorted and got it all straightened up and everything goes in right, I think that door's going to sit in there pretty sweet. I reckon I got my gaps nearly 100% spot on. Don't ask me how, because I'm such a hack. Maybe what that guy said the other week was true. I don't know. But yeah, I'm having fun, and that's what it's all about. It's about having fun and learning and all that sort of stuff. But you know, all the interior's sort of coming together now. You know, the seats are all mounted. Everything's still tacked in. Everything's tacked in, and but yeah, I'm happy with the way it's starting to look now. You know, I'm sort of making some ground, and we're getting a little bit closer every day. So, you know, stick with me. I'll eventually get it finished, and yeah, all good. All's good. So, my English is terrible. Alright, catch you guys later, and next time I do some filming, it'll be on that windscreen post and the piece of top across the top of the door. So cheers, see ya. Okay, I decided to work on the windscreen posts, or the windscreen post on the driver's side, the right hand side. Very interesting, actually. Now, I've only tack welded it in for the moment. Where's my torch? Where's my torch? I should have this set up, but I haven't. Alright, so we've got the windscreen post there, and we've got the A-pillar. Now these were put down onto the workbench so that they were absolutely plumb when I spotted them. And I've only spotted them just around here and in on this side. I haven't even done that back filler piece yet, so I could pull it all apart. And according to the spirit level, that's plumb. That's a nice plumb door frame. The angle here has been cut away, obviously because the body tapers there. So that's right. That goes in nice. When you come around the front here, that's what you get. Now the skin might be out a little bit because I just sort of guessed. Let me sit that down here. I sort of just guessed when I cut this, and I have to put that filler piece in there anyway. But the problem is, if I take measurements from in here, I've got about 50, try not to get that shadow in the way, I've got about 55 millimeters from the edge of this old body skin to there. Now we know this is plumb, and then up here I've got about 45 out from there to there. Now it's not the same on the other side. I've got 60 at the top, 60 at the bottom. And when you look at it from the outside, as you can see, seems to have a little bit, you know, more tube sticking out here and less up here. That doesn't matter, because when that graft goes in, I can hide all that. That doesn't matter. But on this side, have a look at the difference there. Now, the only thing I can think of, and this is plumb as well, I've put the level on that, and that's plumb, and I did the same thing. I welded this on the bench. Welded that on the bench to make sure that it was all plumb. And both sides are sitting inside the body, as they should. But there just seems to be a heap more material, you know, missing from this side. Now, the body could be twisted. I had to get the hammer and dolly set out a couple of minutes ago, and I had to bash a big piece out here. It was actually dinted in. I don't know why it was like that, but they've lead filled it, and I've bashed it out again. I had to bash it out because the top of this post was actually hitting that dimple inside, so I've knocked that dimple out, and I'll, you know, when I do eventually do the body work, I'll get rid of all this lead that's probably not even needed, and file finish it all, and it'll be good. So yeah, a little bit confused at the moment, a little bit confused. I'm not sure what's going on here. You know, I might have taken out a little bit more on this side, a little bit more sheet metal out on this side than I did on that side. But even so, this seems to be almost uniform down here. Whatever measurement that is. It's probably about 35 mil on the outside. But this one, it seems to taper. So, I don't know. Maybe the body. So I'm going to keep plugging away with this, because I need to have a square frame. I've got to have a square and plumb frame in here, regardless of what the skin is doing. I can sort of, you know, if I have to cut the cabin back into 3 pieces and put it all back together around the frame, then I have to do that. But I've got to keep the framework square and plumb. and at the moment both sides are. Now I can only go as far as the dash will allow me here, so you know, that's the same there. You know, it's up against the dash, it's up against the right angle of the cowl on both sides, and both sides, well, this side's clamped up so that can't move, and this side was clamped up. Oh, it is clamped up, sorry, it is clamped up. You couldn't see it behind the steering column, so that's in the right spot. So yeah, a little bit of a mystery. I got a feeling this whole corner of the roof here, when they fitted it up, it was pushed too far over. Now if you have a look at this here, where they've joined the cabin, you go from basically nothing there, it opens up a little bit, there's an overlap here, then it gets big ass here all the way down, and it just starts to get wider and wider till it gets to the bottom. When you come over to this side, that's a pretty uniformed joint all the way down, and they were spot welds I put on it way back in the day just to hold it together. Then we start off here with a gap, and then the cabin here, it starts to overlap. It's overlapping this back piece. And I spoke about this in one of the really early videos. So the skin on this truck is, it's not plumb, it's not level, it's just way out. It's way out. So I think the best thing to do is stick with keeping my frame plumb and level, and square. And like I said, if worse come to worse, it's not going to be a major, because this is only nailed in. That's why I put the tacks in there, because it's only nailed in, you know. That'll just come straight off, and all I've got to do is just make a slice through here, straight down, and do the same on this side, slice it straight through there, and then slice it through the front, and then just move it out and put a filler piece in there. I think that's the best thing to do. I don't really have any other answers. You know, I'm not professional at this. I got no idea what, as I said, what I'm doing. I'm just sort of persisting and trying to learn and do what I can. So again, guys, I'm just going to keep moving along with it and see how far I get. And you know, body work, I suppose as long as you've got a square plumb and square frame, you can always build body work around anything. So yeah, cheers. Hi everyone again. Doing a little bit of work on the truck today. Trying to get this door frame on the right hand side finished. I managed to get the B-pillar out this morning. I've got the metal one in there that I made at the same time as I made the left hand side one, so that was great. I didn't have to stuff around with anything this morning. Now let me get in here without killing myself. Alright, there we go. We got the piece for over the top. We got a nice fit here. Nothing's welded in, obviously, so got a nice fit there. Got some clearance in the back here. I'll show you what I did to the back, which is what I had to do on the other side as well. And the cabin here, it starts to taper or start to roll around on that corner, so it gets a little bit tight here. So I had to take a piece out of the back. Now I haven't ground down anything, and I probably should before I film this, because you know, I don't want to make myself look like I can't weld anything. But anyway, you know, I've filled that section there. That sits on top of the windscreen post. In order to make it look a little better than the other side. I took a little bit too much out of that. I've actually left this piece in. So it gives me that nice square profile on the side. I'm going to do something with that up there. I am going to square that back out. I'm going to make that look a little bit better. So now that I know that this one looks really good, I've got this to use as a template for that side. So yeah. Anyway, at the back here, I had to taper this. But I messed up. What I did is I'd marked the line down here. I'd worked out what the taper was. I needed to have 35mm left over here. But silly me, instead of going from the 35mm point up to here, this is 150 to this line. If you can see that line on the camera, that pencil line, that's 150. So that's where my taper or my angle needed to start. So I should have drawn a line from this 35mm point up to there and cut it on an angle. Well, I didn't, did I? I measured 35mm here, I drew a straight line and I cut it. I cut two straight pieces out, and after I'd done it on both sides, I thought, okay, why have I got a little bit of a step here? If I bend that down, I'm going to have this triangular gap there. And then I realised what I did. But I wasn't going to waste this piece of steel, so I took those offcuts, those rectangular offcuts, and put them on my my linisher over there, belt linisher, and I just wedged them, stuck them back in, welded them in. But yeah, to be honest, prick of a job, because the steel, because I'd already cut it down and it was so thin already, it had already started to get a bow in it, so I had to hammer it out, flatten it out, and then I had to hold it in there, and then press down on this end with my thumb whilst I put a tack in. Yes, I did use gloves, I got no burns today. But once I grind that back, that's metal in there, and I know you won't be able to see it now. The light's terrible in my garage, and I do apologise, but I have got some good penetration in there. You might be able to just see it. That might be better. You can see the penetration I've got there. It's almost as if I've done little spot welds inside the tube. So, you know, I'm really happy with that. It'll clean up nice. All this gets covered in roof lining anyway, so it's not seen. It's solid. You know, I had a little bit of trouble here. I probably didn't clean up the inside of this tube. There was a little bit of rust, and I got a little bit of splatter there. But, you know, the basic welds were okay. I'm still getting used to this welder. You know, that's not a bad weld for right along the edge. You know, it didn't blow the tube away at all. So it's nice and even. You know, I'm still, as you know, I can weld, but I'm not a great welder. Never claimed to be. So, you know, I'm still learning about my machine, and I'm learning different techniques, and I'm finding that sort of pushing the wire along is better than sort of pulling it along. I'm finding if I pull the wire along, I've got to sort of get a little bit of like sideways movement with the trigger. But I'm finding if I'm pushing it along, I'm getting a lot better bead. So these are little things that, you know, I'm discovering about my welder, and it's sort of coming at the right time as well, because if I can get some really nice welds like this for when I have to weld this entire subfloor together, and that's 4 sides on every piece of tube, I'm going to have some really nice welds in that floor area. So my discovering these different techniques now is sort of is working well for me. But I'm just going to keep going. And at the end of the day, it's you know, like I said, it's a budget build. I don't want to waste materials if I can avoid it. Okay, I had to fill 2 holes there. I stuffed up. I learnt my lesson. I know what I did wrong. Strange thing is, I didn't do it on that side. So you would expect to stuff it up on the first one, but no, I stuffed it up on the second one. And but I got this right on the second one and stuffed that up on the first one. So a little bit of this, little bit of that. You know, that's boxed, that's solid. So, you know, it's all good. So I'm going to keep moving. The day goes so fast. Helps if I get out of bed earlier though. Yeah, I'm going to keep going, see how much I get done, and we'll pick up on the video later. Cheers. Okay, that's the right hand side door frame done. Besides putting the plates in for the nuts for the hinges, that's pretty much done. So now I can concentrate on unpicking the spot welds on the subfloor and taking that all out as one piece, sliding it out, putting all this frame back in, welding it all together before I put it back in, and then put the subfloor down back in place, and that will lock everything in place, and just weld it away and see how we go.